Welcome to First. I'm Mark Eichman along with Nichelle Polston. Shirley Min is off this week.
A year after the Wilmington Homicide Unit was formed to solve murders, arrests are being made, but the overall violent situation in the city still needs some work.
Summer camp for many is only as good as the amount of money you can pay. A new program this summer hopes to level the playing field and give better opportunities to everyone.
Football is around the corner. First heads to Newark to find out how the University of Delaware Blue Hens will prepare for the new season.
First, your public media news magazine starts now.
2 weeks ago, a 25-year-old mother was killed. Her 4-year-old daughter was shot at an intersection just 5 blocks from our studios. The case was quickly solved by the Wilmington Homicide Unit. First Look this week reports on their success, but as the murder of Latrice Blackshear shows, violence is random and can happen anywhere, and it's going to take more effort to control it. Just across the street from where Walter Hines lives is another example of the violence that has gripped Wilmington for years. This time, 3 are shot, including a young mother and her 4-year-old daughter. The mother died.
This is the worst that I've seen in this area, because this area used to be cool, nice.
After the shooting, this makeshift memorial was put together mostly for neighbors looking for a way to express their grief. This particular shooting incident happened in Councilwoman Hanifa Shabazz's district, who often hears from her concerned constituents about the violence.
I have to always see the glass half full. I have to see it always half full, that this too shall pass. We're going through a bad stage. I pray that we can't get any worse than what we are.
Shabazz says the violence that many have witnessed is due to the lack of education and jobs in the area, but it's something city officials recognize must be fixed.
We are working on addressing our educational systems. We have a lot of new industry coming into the city, new venues, new businesses coming. We have numerous workforce development programs. We now just have to connect the dots.
Connecting the dots means helping train those with limited education and getting the unemployed back to work.
It's just not one easy antidote to what's going on in the city. So that's why all of the organizations and entities and forms of government that all have these great ideas and resources, we must come together.
As hard as police try to stop the violence, they understand the message when it comes to cleaning up the city.
The only thing we're doing is, again, trying to build relationships in the community, making that stronger, so we build that level of trust where we get to these closures a lot faster. And maybe we don't even get to these incidents because the cooperation from the community is that much greater and everybody's starting to work with each other, but we definitely need their help.
Nearly a year ago, the department established a homicide unit in an effort to tackle the crime.
Well, I can tell you that we're making progress. Since we've started our homicide violent crimes unit, our clearance rate has gotten a lot better. We're getting more cooperation from the community, and we've also implemented a number of things which has increased that closure rate.
The force also initiated monthly meetings with the Attorney General's office where law enforcement come together to discuss cases, ultimately helping solve cases that may have gone cold. This year serves as an example of getting cases solved in a timely fashion.
I can tell you in 15 the homicide cases that we've had. So far, we've closed 7 of those with a possibility of closing some additional ones. So again, with that focus on the homicides, we're able to bring some of those cases to closure a lot faster.
But some questions remain for resident Hines, who wants to know what's really going on with the number of shooting incidents in the city, especially with initiatives like Cease Violence that's designed to do just that. Councilman Shabazz believes she has the answer.
Their outcomes will show that they have made some dents into the crime, getting guns off the streets, maybe preventing some crimes from happening. But it's so much that's going on. Those dents or those little accomplishments are minute to the fact when someone else dies. So every time there is another shooting and another death, then I don't care how many they have resolved, another one is still one too many.
Meanwhile, Hines tries to remain hopeful, although he admits that's tough with the memorial of his neighbor still very visual.
It might get better if they pull together. And that's the whole thing they got to do. They got to start pulling together. working with one another.
During my interview with Wilmington Police Chief Bobby Cummings, he shared that the department continues to flood the streets with officers in order to limit the opportunity for crime to actually occur. For an example, a component of Operation Disrupt is still very active. It's more so a deployment, the chief tells me. That means police officers are sent to database-driven areas that show a need for a police presence, such as the area where the 25-year-old mother was shot and killed.
So what's the latest on the CDC investigation of Wilmington violence? That was a big push from Councilwoman Shabazz.
Yes, Councilwoman Shabazz tells me she hasn't heard anything since officials presented their preliminary findings in May. She's convinced, though, that the crime here is the result of mental illness, so she's hoping that they send her all the information that they researched.
All right, thanks, Nichelle. You can follow reporting of the Wilmington violence situation on newsworks.org/Delaware. Now let's head over to Delaware education reporter Avi Wolfman-Arndt.
Thanks, Mark. Every year, about 11 million kids attend summer camp. If you've got the money, you can send your kid to an extravagant sleepaway camp or computer science camp or, yes, even journalism camp here at WHYY. Low-income children, though, often end up at community centers where the priority is on safety, not enrichment. One group in Wilmington is trying to change that. It may sound like a small idea, but it has big implications. It's a Tuesday morning at the Walnut Street YMCA in Wilmington. Inside, a classroom of 7-year-olds has been rendered giddy by the combination of milk, food coloring, and dish soap. This is, of course, a science experiment meant to teach students about how the fat content in milk interacts with the anti-grease agents in dish soap. But for Lewis Hagler, it's also a lot of fun.
Because I like science.
What's cool about science?
You get to make stuff that you don't even know what happens.
Lewis is one of about 250 neighborhood kids who spend their summer days here at the YMCA.
9 years ago, camp was largely about playing and providing a safe environment while parents worked. In the last 5 or 6 years, more notably the last 2 or 3 years, the focus has shifted a little bit to we need to be doing more.
More in this case means more learning and more engagement. Students get to pick between activities based on their own interests, and the counselors leading those activities are equipped with lesson plans meant to drive home academic concepts.
We've also worked really hard to embed learning into more fun traditional camp activities in a way that hopefully maybe some of it's happening and the kids don't even realize that, hey, they actually taught me something today.
Less than 2 miles away, a similar transformation is happening at the West End Neighborhood House.
We do super fun things with our kids, and we are making sure that they're camp things so that they're not in school, but the kids are actually learning, and they're growing an appreciation for learning and a passion for learning.
Raise your hand if you can give me the definition of contamination.
Today they're exploring the world of forensic science. The goal is to provide these kids the same sort of structured summer fun that their counterparts in the suburbs might get. And how does West End try to pull that off? By working with other community centers.
So we're able to plan events, we are able to talk about field trips and activities, things that work, things that don't work.
West End, the YMCA, and 3 other community centers in Wilmington are part of the newly formed Summer Collaborative. Together, the 5 camps serve about 1,000 mostly low-income Wilmington kids. The initiative began with an observation from this woman, Catherine Lindroth.
Every single community center was struggling with the same problems, the same core issues.
Lindroth had done some work with local community centers through her job at Teach for America. She noticed quickly that these centers provide safe, welcoming spaces in the summer, but when it came to providing real academic enrichment, they often fell short.
They didn't have the resources, the capacity that they really needed to drive a high-quality learning experience where kids can be lit up about learning. And so we started to think about what we could do about that.
Through the Summer Collaborative, centers work together starting in the middle of winter to map out their camp curricula. They host hiring fairs to land top-notch counselors and get support staff who make sure those counselors have the resources they need. This kind of capacity building may not sound sexy, but Lindroth believes it has big potential. She points to recent research out of Johns Hopkins University that suggests nearly 2/3 of the achievement gap can be attributed to what happens during the summer.
Summer is this free space, right? And if you are in this free space as a high-income kid, you get to see that the world has so many opportunities for you. If you're a low-income kid, you're exposed to nothing.
Lindroth believes that by improving the low-cost summer camps at community centers, the collaborative can help even the playing field for kids all across Wilmington.
And I think when we get there, kids will be able to walk into any center in this city and have a place that will light them up about the possibilities of who they could be.
The Summer Collaborative is now completing its third year. Technically, it's an initiative run by the nonprofit Teach for America. Lindroth expects, however, that it will break off and become its own self-sustaining nonprofit later this year.
Okay, well, that's definitely a good story. So, Avi, while we have you here on set, let's talk about the resignation of Mark Murphy. Any reason why he decided to leave?
There's really been no public reason. I mean, he says he's looking at other opportunities, but it's sort of a funny reason, to be honest, and to not have a real clear reason, I think leaves a lot of people wondering whether this is more of a resignation under pressure than the administration would like to let on.
So what can we say about his replacement?
Well, Stephen Godowski has one thing going for him that Mark Murphy really didn't. It's that he's been in Delaware for a long time, 4 decades. You know, he's been a principal, a teacher. He was a superintendent in Newcastle County at one point. And I think the hope is that he'll be able to forge relationships with teachers and legislators, some of these influential parties in Delaware education. And I think that the rub on Murphy was that he really wasn't able to do that particularly effectively.
Okay, well, thank you, Avi. There's a lot happening in Delaware education. Follow our reporting on newsworks.org/Delaware and on the radio at WHYY-FM 90.9. Coming up on First, a longtime PBS show makes its Delaware debut. And then let's head up Route 52 to look at the coolest light show of the summer, a trip to Longwood Gardens on First Experience.
University of Delaware football wide receiver Jarrell Harrison was charged with first-degree assault last Thursday. He's accused of hitting another player in the Blue Hens locker room with a helmet after practice. First was at that practice and caught this quick glimpse of Harrison just hours before the incident. He was taken to Howard Young Correctional Facility after his arrest and has been ordered to have no contact with the team. First was at Delaware Stadium because we wanted to hear from Coach Dave Brock on his expectations for this football season. We head to Newark for this week's First Person. For this edition of First Person, we're here at Delaware Stadium on the campus of the University of Delaware in Newark, and we're joined by Coach Dave Brock, who's in his 3rd season at the helm here of the Blue Hens. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So there's an interesting statistic on this year's squad. This is the first year since 1989 that there's no quarterback on the team who's had college experience. Talk me through how that's been. That's not really unusual, you think?
Well, I think the dynamic's a little unusual in that there's no one on the roster that's played quarterback at Delaware, but I don't think the reality is that different. You know, Delaware started a ton of players at quarterback who didn't have any game experience when they started the games.
A young team this year as well, only 8 seniors returning. How was that manifested itself in training camp and in work?
Well, I think from the perspective of how we're building the program, that's really what the expectation was in the 3rd year. You know, we would have a really a lower body built team in terms of having true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and true sophomores on the roster. And it's exciting. You know, we got a lot of guys with a lot of enthusiasm. Guys love being here. They love playing here. You know, we have enough leadership, enough older players that you know, have been here, know what we want to do and how we want to do it. So it's a nice mix. It's just young, and we're going to count on energy, enthusiasm, and you know, guys who love to play, and you know, we think that'll give us a great product this year.
Is there a thought pattern that let's be patient with these guys, let's make sure they develop the right way, or is we got to win now?
Well, I think you're always in a situation where you feel like you have to win this year, and I've said it for 2 years that I've been here, and I continue to say it. I think ultimately at Delaware you feel like you have to be a playoff team. You know, that's the expectation of the program. It should be the expectation of the people who've played here, coached here, who love the program. So, you know, that certainly is our expectation going into it. And you know, you have to go out and play well enough on a week-to-week basis and put yourself in a position where you can win enough games and get in the tournament. So, you know, that certainly is our team goal, is to be a playoff team.
6-6 record last year. You ranked 6th in the CAA preseason poll. How do you manage expectations, low expectations from the poll, but you have high expectations for the team.
Yeah, again, I think the expectations that matter are the ones that are inside the building and the ones we talk about with the team. You know, the young guys who play for us and the people who are with us every day, you know, they know the work that's going in and the things that are being done to put the program in a position to be successful. So, you know, really the expectations that we have are certainly high, and the belief that we have in ourselves, not only as coaches but players. You know, we're counting on ourselves to do a great job, and we feel like we'll be very, very competitive.
What will we see on the field this year with young quarterbacks, whoever it is? Will be young and experienced. A lot of running for the Blue Hens this year.
Well, certainly we got 4 or 5 offensive linemen back, and feel very good about our front. Tight end with some experience back. Obviously, we'll miss Nick. You know, our 2 running backs that are returning and you know, are really, really good players. We feel like we can lean on them, and we want to be a line of scrimmage program. So we really want to develop the offensive and the defensive fronts and you know, run the ball, stop the run mentality, and then the game becomes a little bit easier for the quarterback if he can hand it off a bunch effectively. Now he's going to have one-on-one coverage, going to have opportunities to really throw it when we want to throw it as opposed to throwing it when we have to throw it. And then defensively, you know, we have a lot of guys back who played a lot of football for us, and we've kind of restocked. We took 12 scholarship players, true freshmen on defense. We anticipate a lot of those guys will play this year, and you know, we're going to try and run to the football and be really aggressive and you know, play really, really sound defense.
Let's talk a little bit. Last year, you opened the season at Pitt, which was a very tough game. Didn't score any points and lost 62-0. That was sort of the first of a series of games against ACC opponents. North Carolina on the schedule this year, then I think Wake Forest and Virginia Tech. Talk a little bit about what that challenge brings to the team and how you go into games like that.
Well, I think it's an opportunity for the guys to play up and to play a Power 5 school, an ACC school. You know, it's a great opportunity. Certainly we didn't get the result or the performance that, you know, we wanted or the people deserved. But, you know, again, with a new year, you go into it, you know, they're really the last thing on my mind. I'm worried about training camp in Jacksonville and focusing really on what's important for Delaware football right now.
Jacksonville up first, home game here at home. What do you expect to see? I guess you want a lot of people out here to support the team and see some Blue Hens football.
Yeah, we're hoping everybody shows up Friday night, 7 o'clock. It should be a great environment. Hopefully the students will be packing the place like they did 2 years ago when Jacksonville came into town in the first game I coached here at Delaware. You know, again, we're going to be really excited. We're going to try and put the best product we can on the field and be a young team, but we will fly around. We'll play really, really hard, and I think people will be really proud of what we do.
He is Dave Brock, University of Delaware football head coach, first person for this week. Coach Brock, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break from the sports on the field to the sport of politics. Hillary Clinton is scheduled to come to Delaware soon for a fundraiser to help her presidential ambitions. Rob Torno has some thoughts about that in this month's Delaware cartoon. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me about the cartoon.
So Hillary Clinton's coming to Rehoboth for a fundraiser, and lately she's been pretty embattled. She has this whole issue of classified emails being on her private server. We don't know how that's going to hash out. But coming to Delaware gives us the great opportunity of talking about Joe Biden. You know, will Joe Biden enter the race? Is he thinking about entering the race? So I just find it fun. I mean, I really don't think Joe Biden's going to enter the race. He would come in with like a tremendous disadvantage with money. Yes. He's also sort of oldish, so you know it's going to be a tough thing for him to sort of. Does he have it for the campaign? But you know. We'll see. Hillary, like I said, is kind of embattled, so it at least gets that opportunity out there.
And Delaware is a safe place to visit.
Yeah, I mean, it's safely Democratic, you know, and you're going to raise some money in Rehoboth of all places. But like I said, she's kind of revealed sort of a tarnish on her candidacy. And, you know, will people support Joe Biden? We'll see.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears. Let's go to football. The other cartoon is the new mantra of Eagles camps.
Right.
Don't let your players get on the field and they'll never get hurt.
Yeah, so Chip Kelly, you know, he's got the perception of being a maverick, you know, he's going to go all in, but with DeMarco Murray and Sam Bradford, his 2 big offseason acquisitions, he's kind of taken a more cautious approach. It's preseason, the games don't matter, so you want your guys healthy. They're both supposed to play on Saturday against the Ravens, so maybe Eagles fans will be able to see for the first time these acquisitions. We'll see.
Awesome. Rob Torno is all over the place. Read him on newsworks.org. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Torno, and check him out on First next month. Thanks again, Rob.
No sweat.
Ask This Old House, the PBS program seen on WHYY-TV, is taking on projects in the Manayunk section of Philadelphia and in Wilmington. The Wilmington project gave First an opportunity to see how the show selects its projects and how the original reality show comes together. Lights, cameras, action. The crew of PBS Ask This Old House rolled into Delaware at last. This charming home, nestled in the Wilmington neighborhood of Union Park Gardens, gave the show a chance to finally make their way to the first state.
So this is our first trip to Delaware with Ask This Old House. We've been on the road for 14 seasons, and we're very excited to finally make it to Wilmington. It's always been on our radar. We just haven't found the right project until now.
Wilmington residents Joel, Jane, and their daughter Helen reached out to the show in hopes they would help them out with a few repairs around their home.
I feel like we really lucked out. We sent them an email a little while ago asking for some help with some different projects we had around the house, and they contacted us back and said they'd never been to Delaware and would love to come and talk to us about some of the things that we could do to fix up our house.
When the show contacted them, Joel thought the whole thing was a joke at first.
Well, actually, Heath left a message on my phone, and at first I was just kind of disbelieving the whole thing, thinking it was a friend playing a joke. So gave him a call back. Sure enough, his story checked out, so I was kind of really excited.
Armed with tools, lights, cameras, and a monitor, the crew gets to work on their first project.
Well, today we are changing out a pedestal sink. The homeowners got here about 7 years ago. They looked down and it had a big crack in it. It didn't leak, but it cracked, and it's the only bathroom, so we thought we'd get them a new pedestal.
While Richard always makes it look so easy, he says there are some challenges.
The hardest part for us, if you look, is we're actually shooting in the only bathroom with 7 different people on our crew jammed into one bathroom, and that's the hardest thing, actually.
Whether it's a small bathroom or a dark basement, it's the job of senior producer Heath Rosella to figure out how to make it work.
I oversee all the projects, figure out what stories we want to tell, and help put the camera in the right place and make sure that we're providing great lessons for people at home.
One lesson viewers won't see on air is that sometimes the job requires more tools than you've brought. When that happens, Richard turns to his handyman Joel, who is more than willing to help out.
I'm Richard's helper. Yep, we went to the store. We got a couple parts that we needed, and basically I'm just kind of helping him along, holding things and just kind of seeing how the inner workings of the whole sink and everything. So it's really interesting process.
Host Kevin O'Connor tackles the next project.
I'm going to be working on child-proofing. Well, we're going to keep them out of the nasty stuff, so we're going to lock up the cabinets in the kitchen so they don't get to the things that are typically underneath of the kitchen sink. The cleaners, the detergents, sometimes the poisons. We're going to make sure that the big items are secured to the wall, like the dressers and the flat screen TVs, so nothing tips on a small child.
You'll have to wait and see the end results of this home improvement project. Tune in to Ask This Old House in the fall to see the final reveal. Want to get help with your home repair project? Show producers say the staff reads through all their emails, so you could be chosen. Just log on to their website, askthisoldhouse.com/ask-a-question.
First Experience introduces artists and their art, but what if you could be part of that art and see it in a whole new way? You can do that at Longwood Gardens' newest exhibit, Nightscape. It's a light and sound experience. The trees, bushes, and fountains are the canvas. Clip Collective is the artist. The place, Longwood Gardens. Describing the experience in one word, amazing. The exhibit can be seen Wednesday through Saturday, now through October 31st. If you're going, be sure to wear comfortable shoes, as you will be doing plenty of walking. But you can always take a break at Longwood's new Bear Garden for the food and drink or the live music. You can get more information on the exhibit and the artist, Clip Collective, when you visit Longwood Gardens on the web at longwoodgardens.org.
Next week on First, it's the story of the forgotten graves at the Delaware State Hospital. We'll explain why people were buried there for 90 years and are finally being remembered.
Speaking of recognition, we have one more story to show you. As part of our Delaware Clean Water series, we traveled to Blades along the Nanticoke River for the Cardboard Canoe Classic. Ever wonder if cardboard canoes can float? Check it out.
We are in the Nanticoke River watershed, which is also in the greater Chesapeake Bay watershed. The purpose of this Reclaim Our River Nanticoke series is to draw attention to the river.
It's our second annual Recycled Cardboard Boat Regatta.
Every month of the year we have some kind of an event in and around the Nanticoke River, educating.
Today is a fun way to get our water quality messaging out there. Get our residents down to the Nanticoke River, give them a chance to appreciate the river, and then send them home with some important information on how to protect our waterways.
First time in the Cardboard Regatta. It was an email that my dad sent me and said, hey, let's give it a try. We've built numerous boats over the years, different materials and stuff like that, and I've never done anything out of cardboard before, so hey, why not give the old college try?
All the cardboard here, it's actually on its second life. It either came from cardboard dumpsters or, it's been used somehow before. And then after the event, everything that can be recycled is recycled. I'm glad everybody came out today. I think we have a good turnout, and I think, the event will keep building over the years.
And we're concluding it October the 3rd at Chapel Branch, where we're having a guided nature walk.
Thanks to photographer Paul Parmalee for the pictures and Gary Lindstrom for the editing. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Shirley Min, Avi Wolfman-Arent, and Nichelle Polston, I'm Mark Eichman. Have a great week.